Outdoorsman 1 here. Truck's in the garage, so if there's a little bit of an echo, that's why. Anyways, today we've got an awesome video. Today I'll be installing my Dirt King Fabrication upper control arms. These guys, these are super beefy. I'm really excited to get these on the truck. Let's go to Harbor Freight and get some stuff that I don't have. Step one, like often with these one-off purchases, is to go to Harbor Freight and find the tools that I don't have. Next step is to go to Chick-fil-A to properly be fed. I swear this Chick-fil-A is always under construction, always. This is my 2014 Tacoma TRD off-road with an AluCab canopy camper on the back. If you're interested in more videos on the camper, please watch the video series that I have going. Like always, I just want to throw this out there. I'm not a professional. I watch YouTube videos just like you. Don't take my word as gospel. If you've got a better way of how to do something, make your own video. That's what YouTube's for. Or leave it in the comments below. Now that I'm highly caffeinated and got my Chick-fil-A Deluxe chicken sandwich, we can begin. So a couple things before we get going. You're gonna need to lift your truck up something like with a jack or something like that. If you've got a massive camper like me, that becomes a little difficult to put things on jack stands. Also, chalking your wheels and making sure your e-brake is fully placed is going to be something good for this, because obviously you're going to be taking tires off, so you don't want anything shifting, sliding, moving while you've got a tire off and your truck up in the air. Alright guys, so here's pretty much everything that we're going to need. You're obviously going to need your new upper control arms, some sort of a torque wrench. Didn't have that, nor did I have a ball joint separator. You can use a pry bar, but this is going to make your life a lot easier. I also didn't have a really large set of box wrenches, so you're going to need 19s for Tacomas. Also, some sort of a 19mm socket. Probably pliers, probably a hammer, and your something to be able to pry the pinch weld back to get that long bolt out. Some sort of PV blaster is always going to be a good call. Some sort of pliers probably always a good call. A wrench with an articulating head, breaker bars, some sort of a razor, of course. Who knows why? And then probably you will need varying sizes of sockets to be able to get smaller things out of the way. And then obviously the rest of whatever you need. Obviously, a thing I forgot to mention is if you have locking plugs on your wheels, you need the adapter. Also, obviously, you need a wrench to be able to get more tires on this. You gotta get your tires on. And if you're only here to watch the disassembly because you're putting factory OEMs, a different brand on there, I thank you for watching the video, and you can tune out after this. Alright, so if your daddy never taught you this, it's alright. Mine did. Make sure to break the tension on your tires before you lift it off the ground. Unless you have an impact wrench, I don't. Using a star with the adapter. If you're like me and you're using just a bottle jack, I've got 2 bottle jacks underneath my vehicle. If one gets out, there's a redundant. That being said, since we are using a bottle jack, don't jack it super high up, because your whole system is going to be under pressure, and it's going to make it a little bit more difficult. It's going to be easier to pop everything out. There's Alright guys, so while you're under here, it's always a good idea to take a look at the quality of what's going on. Make sure your brakes are good, make sure your rotors are good. Make sure all of your different bearings are good here. But the things that we're going to need to remove here are your sway bar link, if you still have a sway bar. I'm just trying to decide if I want to take mine off. You're going to need to take this off, this castle nut with this locking cotter pin. If you have a reservoir mounted like I do, you're going to need to remove where it's mounted so you can get back in here and put a wrench in there. This is your main issue, this long pin that goes all the way through. Then obviously you can see the wonderful status of my Icon shocks that have been through the ringer. Hopefully these guys will be getting replaced soon. Now hopefully you can see this yellow wire right here. We're gonna need to get this wire out of the way because that right there is the bolt that we're gonna need to make travel up through right here. So in my situation, getting the icon reservoir here out of the way is going to be the first thing that I do so that I can get up in there and get that long bolt moving. Right now though, I am going to soak each of those bolts in a little bit of PB blast so that they can get soaking, hopefully, and start penetrating into there, and it'll get the C's movement out of there. Another thing that I did was I put my high lift jack on the front on my bumper and lifted it up as high as it could go so that now the the upper control arm is drooping, as you can see with this angle, taking more tension off of the system. Alright guys, so now that that is out of the way, let's see down here now, what I'm going to do is get the mud flap inner liner, the soft inner liner out of the way, and try to move that as much as possible so that I've got free room to access both sides of the bolt. Alright, so what I figured out was the easiest to do was use some sort of vice grips and some pliers that are longer than the vice grips. Obviously, get back behind there and just pull it up one piece at a time. The thing you're going to want to remember is after you've done that, you've probably scratched up some of the metal. Just go back with some rattle can, cover it up before you finish so that you don't have to rub. Okay, so mine's a little bit different than most because obviously mine's been worked on before. When I bought it, it had this icon suspension system on there. So mine might be a little bit different than yours. Anyways, took some encouragement. I actually don't have a wrench up there right now. Mine's just pretty tight, but I can get this guy off now. So in your case, you might have to have another 19mm up on the front to prevent it from turning. My situation was a little bit different, so I didn't need that, but obviously hold on to all your parts. The Dirt King kit comes with brand new everything, so I'm not going to need to keep them, but in your situation you probably should. Now, mine just slides freely, so let me show you up top what you need. Alright guys, so right there you'll see that bolt that's pressed up against this pinch weld. Sorry, I'm a little shaky. Anyways, this pinch weld is going to need to be folded back so that that can travel this way. So towards the camera through that little slot. But you can see in there, there's a little gap now between that bolt. This guy, there you go. You can see there's a little bit of gap between the washer and that, so that's good. Now, the next step, now that we know that that bolt will travel all the way, let's just return it back to center, just so nothing gets moved while we're getting everything else off. Okay, that slides pretty good, so that's a good thing. We're going to need to get this off, we're going to need to get this off, and anything else that's attached to your control arm. Okay, so once we know we can get the castle nut off here, I like to just unthread it all the way, make sure it's going to unthread, and then thread it back on. Then we can worry about getting that off in a second, but let's get these other two off this one. So this is a 19mm. This is, I believe, an 18. Oh, my bad, it's actually a 17. Alright guys, so now that we are pretty much disassembled, I've got the sway bar link. This was actually seized, so it was just kind of spinning, that's why I was fighting that. This guy, the castle nut, is off, and then also the ABS line is off. Be careful with that guy. Anyways, the next step here is going to be to disconnect the bearing here. So I'm going to take this castle nut off. Got my handy dandy new Harbor Freight tool here. This guy is just going to go in here. Alright, so for the last hour, I've been trying to get this ball joint free. Even with the press, this ball joint gets so, if you can see there, there's a lip, I don't know, hopefully the camera focused, but that lip right there is pressed into the spindle, the top of the spindle. And if you do as much wheeling as I do, that's going to be really annoying. I used a ratchet strap to get the press, or the fork, this guy, under there. Then I used an extra bottle jack from the inside of the spindle to the bottom of the bolt. That was a pain. Alright, so here's that long bolt. And if you were wondering how bad my ball joints were, hopefully you can see all that movement, but this guy was pressed in there. Man, you can see how much it took. Probably took about 500 pounds of pressure to get that thing out. Just for the purposes of this video and because I'm making this video, I put these old straps in there just to make sure that my ABS and my brake lines aren't overstretched. You really won't need to do that as long as you're kind of up in here and maneuvering everything as you go. Go back and touch up my spindle a little bit with some black rattle can, because I did have to tap a couple times. Framing hammer, get that done. If you have a mallet, that would probably be better than a framing hammer. So hopefully on the next round, I'll be able to get it done quicker because I know kind of what I needed to do and what angles to press up on. So yeah, then I'm also going to want to remember to go back and wipe the grease off of this rotor, because I've got some grease on there from my greasy hands and whatnot. Like I said, once I go from this side disassembly and a speed trial here, then I will transition into doing the install on both sides. Hopefully that makes more sense. Keep it kind of split up the middle for those that don't want to watch the install of the Dirt King Upper Control Arms. Transition to the installing of the upper control arm. So anyways, with the Dirt King stuff here, Dirt King's got some really great information and whatnot. Instructions are really good, and they pretty much give you everything you need. Much beefier castle nuts. Also, they give you the things that you need, which are pretty thick. So, just reverse the process with the new stuff that you have here. Alright, look at that beautiful upper control arm. So let's compare the stock TACOMA one, which is hollow, and the aftermarket Dirt King. Look at that, how much beefier that is. Then I did go ahead and opt for the Greaseable uppers because everything else on my truck is greasable. Make sure that you're putting the passenger on there. Make sure you compare that the placement is in the same place. make sure everything's good before you go ahead. I like the fact that they labeled them passable. One thing you will need to consider is you will need to get an alignment done after you install these new ones, because there's a little bit more caster built in to these upper control arms, because they promise a 2-inch increased travel. So it's designed to be for, obviously, a lifted vehicle, so you've got a little bit that you need to play with. So go get an alignment so you don't tear up the tire. So I'm actually going to get a rotation after this. Probably the last rotation on these tires. But something I like to do is I like to count all of my gear before I start installing. I like to make sure I know where everything is before I start installing. That way, you know, I know that these cotter pins are going to be a little bit different. I know that these are going to be a little bit different. Make sure everything screws on so that when I get going, I know where I'm at. Torque everything down, so I want to make sure that everything's nice and clean, so I get an appropriate torque spec, that everything's going to slide on there appropriately. Remember, one washer on top. There's two things left here. We need to tighten everything back up and torque it back down. So this top one is 85 foot-pounds and this one is 81 foot-pounds. This is going to be a different size now. The Dirt King, I think it's a 25 millimeter or standard. I don't remember off the top of my head what it is. Anyway, so I'm just going to do that one with a wrench and then use your torque wrench to get everything back down. I'm going to go drive around, let everything settle, and then come back and re-torque it once I get the tires rebalanced and everything like that. Just for proof, look at that, clean as a whistle. Look at that. I didn't put the caps on yet because I still got to get a alignment done. It's awesome. Took, as per usual, a lot longer than I expected. Okay, so recap, after action report. Let's talk about it. So these old guys, they suck. Also, this one I had to cut because this nut on there, you can see, there it is, that castle nut. Yeah, it's stripped. You can see those teeth. Now they're not over there, those teeth stripped right off. So I'm glad that Dirt King replaces those with a much beefier nut. So that's good. But yeah, these guys were so crammed in there because of all the off-roading that I do. It took forever to get off. When it comes to the actual install and the actual upper control arms and their part, they're awesome. They're super easy to install. It's just getting that original one out. Once you get that one out, I need to put the caps on here, but once you get the factory one out, it is super easy, living the dream. But besides getting those guys out, super easy install. The demo sucked, but the actual install went really easy, went really smooth. Dirt King has really great instructions. Also super intuitive. They have all the parts you need, and it's super easy. Now to get these guys greased up, I'm gonna go get a alignment. And then actually my alignment isn't that bad. I just need to get a tire rotation and alignment anyways, because my steering wheel's a little crooked. So I still need to do that regardless. But it's not really different at all from where it was. I thought it might be, but it's not. So time to clean up the garage and get going. Get ready for Expo West. We'll see you.